Good evening, everyone. I would like to call to order the Bamberg School District 1 Board of Trustees meeting. Today is November 23rd, 2020 at 6:30. You have all had an opportunity to receive and review your agenda. What is the pleasure of the board with regards to approval of the agenda?
Madam Chair, I move that we receive the agenda as printed.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, and you're in agreement that we accept the agenda as it's been presented, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? All right, there is none. The ayes have it. The motion passes. Next on the agenda is item number 3, which is approval of the minutes for October 19th, 2020 and October 21st of 2020. You have all had an opportunity to receive and review both of the minutes. And before we go into entertaining a motion, I just would like to notate a correction on October 21st, 2020, first page, going down to item number 3, third paragraph, that's in bold. Just a correction where it says Bamberg, Earhart, High School, Earhart just needs to be corrected as far as the proper spelling. And then 2 sentences, or I should say 2 lines down from that where the sentence starts, it was further moved. Just add a D to the end of MOVE should be moved. Other than that, you had an opportunity to receive and review it with pleasure of the board with regard to approval of these 2 minutes.
Madam Chair, I move that the minutes for October 19th and October 21st be received.
All right. All right, we have a motion on the floor that the minutes of October 19th and 21st of 2020 be received with the correction. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, and you're in favor of approval of the minutes, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the ayes have it. We will move down to item number 4 on the agenda, which is school reports. That shows Stacy Walter, Denise Miller, and Dennis Ulmer. Mrs. Brown.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
If it's okay, I can't talk and breathe. I'll remove my mask while I do those reports, if that's okay with everybody. As you know, the principals are attending tonight. They are all online. They are virtually present in order to answer any questions you guys may have. I'm going to run through their school reports, but in case you have succinct questions for individual schools, they are available online. So first is Rich Carroll Elementary School from Principal Ms. Stacy Walter. Note the enrollment stands at Rich Carroll Elementary School currently at 638 students, with 456 coming face-to-face and 182 remaining virtual. Both after-school programs continue to run well. Both of these programs serve students in kindergarten through 6th grade. To date, they have only had 4 discipline issues at the elementary school, all minor issues. Rich Carroll Elementary has had 3 positive COVID-19 cases since August 3rd, which included 2 students and 1 teacher, and I would like to add there that those were cases that occurred outside of school. And RCES pre-K through 6th grade raised $618.97 while partnering with the middle school, collecting change for the cheese and cracker box. This money goes towards assisting in purchasing and supplying people in the community with winter items of food. And if you have any questions now for Mrs. Walter, I'm sure she's available to answer any of those. All right.
I have one question. I just want if we have the number of kids that are actually in the after-school program.
Yes, we can get that to you. Okay, we'll go to the middle school report now from Mrs. Miller. She has provided you with the achievement data, and keep in mind that our first quarter grades have been stored and Q1 report cards have gone out. So she's provided you with some achievement data on the students at the middle school. Also, I would like to make note here, and looking at the percentages, you had 40% of 7th grade pass in all 4 content areas, and 8th grade 69%. At the time that we did Q1 report cards, we had a relatively almost 50-50 percentage-wise as far as those students attending virtually and those attending face-to-face. But after Q1 grades were done, Mrs. Miller and her staff have contacted parents. It's a fact that our virtual students are not performing as well as our students that are coming face-to-face. But she has had a large percentage return to the middle school face-to-face since those grades were done. And their grades thus far haven't all improved significantly. So I just wanted to add in that little note to her percentages here. She's implemented strategic actions and interventions at the middle school to address some of the achievement deficits for students for both face-to-face and virtual. And I would like to, they're all listed there for your review, but I would like to say that every strategic intervention method that's offered to the face-to-face student is also available to every virtual student. They just have to take advantage of it. Concurrent enrollment overall is 196 students at the middle school. 7th grade is broken down to 106 students, while 8th grade there are 90. And there she's broken down the number of face-to-face learners, 140 versus now virtual learners, 56. All right. At the middle school, there have been no confirmed COVID-19 cases amongst teachers nor students. And celebrations, Mrs. Charlotte Schlamp, a 7th grade science teacher, received her Google Educator certification along with Mr. Kristen Jensen, who's an 8th grade science teacher. So congratulations to them. That's no easy feat. I've done some of that Google training, and whoo, it's a lot. So congratulations to them for the hard work. Also, Mrs. Schlamp has been selected as a math and computational thinking through 3D making fellow, which is shortened for MPACT. She'll receive 24 hours of professional development, classroom materials, a 3D printer, CAD software, $1,000 going towards the middle school, and classroom library and STEM career awareness materials. Also, Mrs. Teresa Alsing received a generous donation from South Carolina Governor's School with Arts and Humanities. She received 40 Lego kits and 158 student sketchbooks. BEMS raised $200 for the cheese and cracker box. Q1 report cards went home Thursday, November the 5th. And she wanted to compliment, and so do I, the football team at the middle school. The season ended with 11-5 with a 36-6 victory over Branchville. And the middle school team had 4 wins and 3 losses. Any questions?
Yes, I have a question that may not be able to be asked at the moment, but with the students that are learning virtually, have we been able to identify what the maybe some of the issues that could be going on with those virtual learners versus those that are actually attending school?
Yes, ma'am, we have.
Okay.
And then talking with all 3 principals, the issues are the same at all 3 schools. Students either do not log in, or they do not log in at the appointed times, or they're not completing or returning assignments, or they're not taking advantage of the virtual classrooms or appointments that teachers are making to meet with them face-to-face. Some of the students are not attending our after-school program, and we do have teachers at all 3 schools that are also offering virtual after-school tutorials. But mostly it's been lack of poor attendance to the virtual sessions and lack of turning in assignments or turning them in on time. And I'm just going to use Ms. Miller as an example. We're sending letters home to parents. They're also sending certified letters home to parents to let them know your child is in danger, your child's experiencing this, your child's not doing this, or your child is doing this, but. So all parents are being notified through the classroom teachers, through emails, through Google Meets, through certified letters and letters mailed home to parents from the principals. So those are the common issues that we're seeing, the common trends. And then there's another reason, you know, virtual is not for everybody. Some students are attending religiously, some are signing on time, some are turning in their assignments on time, but they're struggling with just the virtual format. So some students just can't learn that way, or they learn better with a live teacher in front of them, to spend more one-on-one time with them, or to interact or engage with that curriculum. We are trying to convince parents of those situations. It is imperative, and we have the data to show parents, if they'd like to see it, that our face-to-face students are performing better than our virtual learners.
Do we know what the trend is across the state?
Same thing. I've taught, you know, we're all members of USC Salcahatchee Consortium, and we're in our region, but amongst all the other 7 districts that's in that consortium with me and talking to the other superintendents, same issues. And in our superintendent state meetings, I had to go to 2 last week, some of the superintendents across the state all talking about this same. And you've even seen some news articles here recently in the paper of other districts putting in criteria, your child must return face-to-face for the same reasons.
Yeah. I know being a virtual learner, it does require discipline. You absolutely have to have discipline to actually be able to stay on top of, or even, you know, just to be in the ballpark of getting the work done. It does require a lot of discipline. And, you know,
It does, and it tends to be even more difficult for our very young children. You know, that virtual platform, we tend to start getting students used to that around the middle of the high school level, because that is what college is going to be about. But at the very young ages, you know, that's where we need them engaged in the curriculum and in the classroom. And that is the piece that I think a lot of students are missing.
And too, they're home confident, their own environment, the younger ones.
That's true.
They just take advantage of it, but they don't realize what is happening in doing that, what causes them to fail.
It is true.
I have a question. The student achievement data, was that assessed last year? Also, is this like a test that's performed every year, or is this something that was just performed because of the, you know, the virtual learning?
Now, what you're seeing here for this report from Mrs. Miller, for example, I see you looking at her report, that's based solely off report card grades.
Okay.
Now, but I will tell you this, you know, when we return to school, the state mandated that we give a pre-test to all students in K through 9th grade. The state and all districts wanted to see where our students were last spring and what did they return to us with. Were there any deficits or gaps in their learning while schools were closed due to COVID? We submitted that data. We saw slight declines, particularly in the area of math, but not so much in the areas of reading across the grade levels overall. The post-test data states requiring that every district submit post-test data. We'll be given math assessments and star reader, star math over the next 2 weeks. That's due by December 20th. So now what they're tracking is where the students were when they returned to us in August and where are they today after a whole semester of instruction.
Okay,
So that's a separate set of achievement data that we'll have in addition.
Report card data then, this isn't
Yes.
some speculative.
This is based solely on report card, which is very authentic data because that's how the children are performing, not on just one test, but in every subject area across the 9 weeks through every day. Okay? All right. Any questions for me or Ms. Miller? She's online as well. So we'll move to the high school. Current enrollment at Bamberg High School is 366 students. And Mr. Omar has broken this down to you by grade level. You can see that our highest populated grade level currently is grade 10 with 101 students. In 9th and 12th grade being tied at 94 students, and 11th grade being the smallest grade level at 77. He too is broken down to face-to-face versus virtual numbers. We currently have about 214 students attending face-to-face, and last month, you can see that's increased. We had 2 or 3 more return, and I can tell you that late last week we had even more. So our face-to-face numbers are going up almost every day as students return to us face-to-face. And you'll see the virtual numbers declining. So first quarter academics, out of the 366 students, we had 99 who were failing one or more classes. And 75 of the 99 students are virtual. There's the presence of that data again, showing you our virtual learners are struggling more so than our face-to-face. And 75.7% of students failing one or more subjects are virtual learners. And again, we're doing the same outreach services to our high school students as we're doing at the other schools. We have after-school programs. We have, in reading and math, we have teachers teaching virtually and making themselves available in the evenings virtually, and Mr. Ulmer sending letters and notifying, along with every teacher, notifying every parent almost daily of what their child is or is not doing in that virtual setting. Now, where it becomes, I'm not saying it's even less concerning at the elementary or the middle, but where it becomes what we call high stakes at the high school is that could affect their progress towards on-time graduation. Because if you go a whole semester and you fail courses, you do not earn your graduation credits, which could put you a semester behind or a whole year behind if this continues, affecting your 4-year graduation term. So just wanted to comment there about the importance of parents communicating with us and cooperating with us about dealing with their children's deficits and getting them what they need. The high school, to date, there have been no positive cases amongst teachers nor students. Mr. Ulmer highlights some athletic achievements. Congratulations to the BEHS volleyball team who competed for the state championship on November 7th. We didn't leave Columbia with the gold, but we did leave knowing we're the best single-A public school volleyball team in the state of South Carolina. Congratulations to the Red Raider football team who finished the regular season undefeated and Region 6A champions. Any questions for myself or Mr. Ulmer?
The only thing I have to say is that with all that is going on, I'd like to thank everyone. It's a lot.
It is a lot.
And dealing with this year too, well, I congratulate all you guys.
I do, and I would like to commend our principals. I know we hear all the time, and our teachers, our faculty, our staff, everyone's working more so than we've ever worked before, and our administration is working doubly hard. I'm trying to stay on top of all of this, and they are making it a personal mission to reach out to these children themselves and their parents, and to work with parents in addition to the teachers to try to meet their needs.
I have a quick question. I thought I read that the governor was going to provide all the schools with testing.
Yes.
Is that come to fruition, or is that in the
It has, and this came out after you guys had gotten your board packets. The governor holds a press conference, and then we get an email from Miss Molly Spearman saying that she was unaware he was going to hold that press conference. But the very next day, we got flooded with all these permission forms, procedures, samples. We are in the process of meeting with the principals and our nurses, getting those procedures in place. We have not to date received the testing kits. Coming back from Thanksgiving, we should have procedures in place. The State Department will inform the district as to how they're going to mail those to us. It is under our understanding that they're probably going to mail them. We have to get the procedures in place. We have to get the forms adopted. We also have to have a method of pickup. Say, for instance, are we going to ship them back to LabCorp? We're going to have LabCorp come pick them up. All of that has to be worked out. So since the governor just held that press conference last week, late last week, we have not had a chance to get all those in place. So I do not have those procedures and stuff to present to you guys, but by next month's board meeting, we probably will. But that is in the process. And it is based on 10% of your current enrollment. Each nurse at each school will be given X number of kits based on 10% of your enrollment. And then as students come in for nursing services, they'll assess whether or not they need to be tested. Parents have to grant consent for that testing, and all of that will be communicated to our parents before we start any of that.
Okay. Next on the agenda is athletic updates. That's item number 5.
Yes, and Coach Williams has put into your packets as well, our athletic director information on our sports and updates. We've gotten a number of memos recently from South Carolina High School League because now we're going into winter sports. So some things have changed from fall sports to winter. So wanted to make you guys keep you abreast on some of these changes, but also highlight some student and coach accomplishments and to highlight our student athletes. With all of what we've had going on, our student athletes continue to shine and to work hard. Again, we want to congratulate our varsity volleyball team, girls volleyball team. They are the lower state champions, and they were a state runner-up. Our JV team had an undefeated season at 10-0, and our B team had an undefeated season at 8-0. Tennis, we had a tennis team in place for the first time. In 13 years, we took second place in the region, and would like to compliment Mr. Wallace Rutland, who qualified for the individuals in the state tournament. So well done with our tennis team. Cross country, Evan McLeod finished 19th out of 115 runners at the state meets. So commend him for a job well done. And of course our football, our varsity football team is our region champions. They have an undefeated season thus far. When this was done, it was 7-0. Playoffs, we are entering the playoffs. As you know, we'll play for lower state champion this coming Friday night. So, and middle school finished the season with a 4-3 season. So kudos to all of our student athletes. And I would like to say this to all of our coaches. I thank them. I'm very proud of them. Our coaches dedicate an unbelievable amount of time to this school, this community, this district, these children. I mean, it literally is a 7-day, 15-hour, 20-hour day more commitment to our athletic programs. So I just want to let all of our coaches know that what they do for all of us and all of our children does not go unnoticed nor unappreciated. And I've had a number of parents, especially this week, approach me and compliment this district's athletic programs and our coaches and the time and attention they give to all of our children.
Before we move on to item number 6, board members, can we give our players and our coaches a round of applause? We certainly do appreciate that, and you're absolutely correct. There's a lot of dedication that goes into this, from coaches to assistant coaches, volunteer coaches.
Absolutely.
You name it, there is a lot of work that goes into that.
It does, and it's just unbelievable. They do so without hesitation. So thank you. Okay, basketball. Getting into the winter sports brings us to basketball. This year, because it is in a confined space, it's inside a gym, South Carolina High School League has a little more restrictions on basketball attendance and ticket sales and things like that. So Coach Crosby has given you a breakdown of what tickets will be sold. All the basketball players will get 2 tickets off to their parents. Cheerleading parents will get 1. Visiting team will be given 25 tickets to sell, and each coach gets 2. And then he broke down an example for you there for you to look at. But if you have any questions, please, Coach Williams said, please don't hesitate to reach out to him. Attached to that also is straight from the South Carolina High School League's memos to Coach Williams, Mr. Ulmer, and myself. These are the proposed dates for both basketball and wrestling, when we can begin first practices, the scrimmages, and the first contest, playoffs right on into the qualifying finals, should we continue successfully throughout the season. This could change as COVID conditions change across the state. Also at the scrimmages, the public is not allowed to attend the scrimmage games, unfortunately, but I would like to remind everyone that if they're played inside our gym, we now have the ability to, with the online viewing program that we talked about earlier, that is now available. So In wrestling notes, schools will be allowed to start November the 9th in phase 1.5. Activities with player-to-player contact are not allowed. Conditioning, skills, and drills without touching a partner, provided that physical distance is adhered to. Mats and other equipments have to be wiped down and sanitized after every use. Regular practice will begin November the 16th, and the first scrimmage could be November 30th or later. Basketball and wrestling will be reduced to a maximum of 4 rounds of playoffs. So just a heads up on what the current regulations are right now in the high school league. And then they graciously attached a copy of the basketball schedules for the varsity, the junior varsity, and the middle school teams, and the wrestling schedule. Keep in mind, though, the schedules are tentative as schools and conditions, COVID conditions, change at every district, every city, every county, and across the state. Some of these games listed could change. Also, we've attached a copy of memorandum from Mr. Jerome Singleton to all superintendents and principals, again, going into training and changes that we have to do to watch these webinars about winter sports. So just to reiterate, and the best practices booklet, we've given you all a copy of that, is that we are following all of our procedures, all of our ticket sales. We're following all the recommendations by the South Carolina High School League. And that's it for the athletic and the principal's reports. Unless you guys have questions about that.
Anyone have any questions or additional questions? Excuse me. Are you with the media? Yes. Okay. You don't need to hold that. Moving down to item number 6, we have student staff recognition and superintendent's report, and I'll turn that back over to Mrs. Brown.
Okay. All right, first on the agenda, item 6A deals with accreditation. As you may have known, all of our schools and the district office, we went through accreditation processes this year, and I've given you copies of the memos from the State Department of Education. All of our schools are fully accredited, and we were given the all clear, all schools and the district office. So I would like to again commend our staff, our administration, and our district office staff for adhering to all our rules and regulations, and for us to be fully accredited with no issues.
Unknown caller.
Okay. Item number B, under Superintendent's Report. As you all know, that we allow students to attend Bamberg School District 1 from out of district, providing, according to our own policies, that we have resources, facilities to serve those kids. When we reach capacity, then we have to change that or limit the enrollment for out of district paying children. This year, I think we have the highest number of out of district paying tuition students that we've had in a very long time. And we're proud of that. People want to bring their kids here. Our enrollment has been declining, but allowing out of district paying tuition helps us curb some of that. However, it came to my attention in reviewing some of our policies, procedures, and things that we've been doing, that some families have some hard decisions to make. For instance, if they have more than one child, they'll bring one because that's what they can financially afford, but they might not bring the second or the third child. And it's heartbreaking. So I am proposing, I don't think this is something that has been looked at in a very long time since maybe we implemented this process, but currently we charge a tuition, out of district tuition rate of $2,505 per child. There is no reduction in any, if you have 2 children or 3 or 4. I'm proposing to the board that we consider an alternative. Our parents are financially strapped right now, especially following COVID. We would love to have the enrollment and there's children join us. We never want parents to have to choose, well, I'll send my this child to Bamberg, but I'll keep my second child enrolled where we are because I can't afford it. And here recently, I've had a number of families to decide to do that, which really got me looking at this situation. So in looking at that, in order to bring a fully researched proposal to all of you, Ms. Furr in the district office, we got in touch with all of the surrounding private schools because it was my understanding that we've always tried to be competitive with our area private schools and what we charge for tuition. And we looked at some of the, and not only that, but some of the local public schools I contacted about what they do for students enrolling in their schools that pay out-of-district tuition. And almost all of them offer staggered tuition or reduction in tuition for multiple children. So we have put together some options for the board to consider. Option one is what we charge currently. That's no break for having multiple children. Option two could be a reduction for the first child, but also reductions for the second, third, and so on. And of course, you can see option 3 and option 4. Also, we did not previously have in place procedures. Basically, we had practices, but I wanted something in writing. When parents come to apply, they have an application to fill out. They're given a checklist of materials they'll need to bring to us. They'll be given up front what it costs, the payment plans that are available, any discounts such as military or law enforcement, which in checking with the other districts and the private schools, that is something that other schools do offer. But also a signed, a fully informed enrollment contract where they're informed of the expectations of out-of-district paying students, and also that they agree to all of the terms and conditions before they even enroll the child here. Because there's been some confusion about that in the past as well. But if we were to adopt these procedures, then parents would be fully informed from the get-go. This information will be made available on our website, and then fully informed again when they come to enroll their child in the school. And we would have all of these in place when we run into obstacles. That's very rare, but it's there when we need it. But the biggest thing that I would ask the board to please entertain is a change in how we are charging our students that are paying out-of-district tuition.
Okay, are you seeking for the board to put something in the form of a motion? And if so, you're asking us, we currently have option 1, but we have option 2, 3, and 4. How soon are you looking to implement this?
I would like to implement it before January, coming back for semester 2.
Okay.
Which would be January, but if that's at least by next school year, next fall. But it would be great if we could implement it going into the second semester, as I've had parents contacting us about, there's particularly students wanting to enroll at the high school.
Madam Chairman, can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Whenever we accept a child from another district, what do we forego in fees or money? Do we receive any extra money from the state? I know, like I said, these children or these parents aren't paying any taxes in our county,
Yes.
For to support education.
You're correct.
So this is what this is supposed to make up for, is the taxes, that all the citizens are paying.
Yes.
So what do we forego by accepting these kids?
We claim those students on our student account, and we do collect money on students for our average daily membership per pupil.
And what does that
And
come
if
up
there
to?
are special education, there are also federal funds attached to those children that we collect for those kids as well.
Okay, do you have any idea of what that is
The
about?
ADM per pupil base cost?
It's like $2,400 per student, and then we've been charging $2,505, so you get them on EFA, and then you get the $2,505, which is supposed to be what you or I or anybody on the board that has children, what we would have paid taxes plus whatever EFA became.
So it would be beneficial.
Right, you're not supposed to be losing any money for the children.
And the options that we've listed here for you, try to be fair to parents, but also, fair to the district and the taxpayers that actually live here. But also to give parents a choice too, that if you want to bring 2, 3 children, we're trying to assist you with that endeavor.
And you said you're seeing an increase, even though with the option 1, people are still enrolling?
Mhm.
Wow.
But, like I said, if they have multiple children,
I understand that, yeah.
some of them are not bringing all of their
Right.
children, because they can't afford
Yeah,
that.
I get it.
Okay,
Uh.
so, you've got option, let's not talk about option 1, because that's where we currently are. You have option 2, 3, and 4. You're interested in the board making a decision on one of the options, or are you interested in the board just, allowing, what exactly are you asking for the board to do tonight? And let me just, before you answer that, we have these options here, and I think, I understand what you're saying, and I understand the why. To me, it would just seem, and this is just my own personal thought, that it would require more thought, to go into this than to make an immediate decision right now.
Sure, and that's what I'm asking the board to make you aware of what I'm looking at tonight.
Okay?
And possibly by next month's meeting, after you all have a chance to look and talk, maybe do some of your own research, I encourage you to do so,
Okay.
that you come back and make a more informed decision. And these were options that we put together based on talking to other schools, but some of you might have even better ideas for other options in dealing with this situation. So,
Do we still meet in December?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think we've had moments where we did not meet in December, but I
Right.
think due to COVID and what's going on with our virtual learners, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to continue to meet, or to go ahead and meet in December.
Okay.
and even not, if there's no meeting in December and we come back in the spring, it's good for us to start looking at this now so we can have clear procedures and practices in place and going forward and looking at next school year,
Correct.
if we are gonna make changes.
Okay.
Based on the 3 additional options, is there one option that, your research has you leaning toward?
It is. Because you always get it at home, don't you? I tend to lean towards either option 2 or 3.
Mhm.
I think that that's the most fair to in-district residents,
Mhm.
but I also think it's fair to parents struggling to meet the demands of having multiple children and the decision to split children up and attend different school districts.
I'm gonna straight to option 2.
Yeah.
For the purposes of the viewers, Mrs. Brown, can you verbally outline what the options are
Sure.
per option 1, 2, 3, and 4, and first, second,
Sure.
third, in addition to that?
So as I said, we currently charge $25.05 per child, no reduction if you have multiple children. With option 2, there would be a $2,400 charge for the first child, and if you had a second, a $500 charge, a third, $500, and any additional, $500. Option 3 would be charging $2,000 for your first child or one child, and then your second at $1,500, and your third at $1,000, so it reduces by $500 for every additional child that you have. And any over 3 children would go free.
Okay.
Okay? And that is what 2 of our closest private schools do. The third, having 1 for children after the third goes free. And then option 4 is charging the parent $1,000 for tuition for the first child. And I think that's backwards. I think it was supposed to be $1,500 for the first and $1,000 for the second. And then $800 for the third.
Okay.
My bad.
Sorry.
That's okay. So if it's okay with the board, let's give some serious consideration to this over the next month, and when we come back in December, we can be prepared, hopefully to, do some action with regards to your request. And if you have any additional questions or any research that you care to do, I would suggest that you do that. Any questions that you may have, you can either pose them to myself or Mrs. Brown. I'm sure she's available after the meeting,
And I would also like for you to look at the whole packet, and if there's something else you have ideas that could be added in or taken out or changed, please, we welcome feedback, because I would like for this to be a collective, well-informed decision.
Okay, so we're not gonna take action on this, but I would, Ms. Stokes, request that this item be placed back on the agenda for the month of December. Thank you.
Table it.
Okay, item number C, 6C on the agenda, there is no handout. But I thought that it was best to inform the board that after attending state superintendent meetings over the past 2 to 3 weeks, I've had a number of them, virtual call-ins, plus a couple I've had to go to Columbia face-to-face. Also, after our finance director, Ms. Furr, has attended SCASO and gotten some information about the financial status of the state of South Carolina and the State Department of Education, and in talks with Mr. Boykin and Mr. Court at our attorney's law firm. All districts have been advised to go ahead, now that our 45-day count has been submitted to the State Department, districts have been advised to begin needs assessment. And with that needs assessment comes personnel, buildings, and operations. In preparation for budget planning sessions that you all know that we go into in January and February. And what that will entail is that I will be meeting with all principals and administration, district administration, going forward within the next few weeks. After Thanksgiving, this will begin. And I will be asking all principals, our finance director, technology director, athletic director, all administration, to pull together all the data, all the programs we currently have in place, all the personnel we currently have in place, all the buildings we're currently operating, and to compare that to our student enrollment. You guys know that every district operates and is driven by student enrollment. And look at what are our priorities, what are our needs, what are our luxuries, and to have that information on hand when we come back and start doing our budget planning and preparation meetings in January and February, because that will be pertinent information. And plus, the uncertainties right now with the state budget, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that. We still have not been given concrete numbers. I'm sure Ms. Farr can talk more on that when it's her turn. That we start planning for the unknown. So we will be meeting and talking about all of that. That will be information forthcoming from me to all of you. But there may be some tough decisions having to be made in the near future. Okay, so item 60, I thought I'd give you all updates on several things we've had going over the last few months. First of all, the lawn services at Richard Carroll Elementary School. When we talked about this a couple of months ago, we got some early estimates. However, given the information that both Ms. Farr and myself received recently at state meetings and what I just told you guys, I think it's best that we table that decision right now and keep handling the lawn maintenance at Richard Carroll Elementary School in-house as we have been doing, just until we finish our needs assessment, our building operations and personnel needs assessment, and we'll begin budget planning in the spring. The paving project at Bamberg High School has begun, and they're working fast. Mr. Paget has some before and after pictures. If you all want to see, one of the concerns too was tearing down the portable, which is that last bullet over behind the adult ed, that the roof had collapsed. That has been completed. The paving at the high school has begun, but it will not be completed until next week after Thanksgiving. The plumbing at the high school is the toilets, bathrooms, and all that we're sealing off and capping off is in progress. We're in the process of getting inspectors to come do a roof inspection at the high school to check for leaks. The drainage system at Richard Carroll Elementary School, we're told by the company that is doing that it will be November/December. And again, all of these companies, these contractors, are dealing with returning to work from COVID. So we're at their mercy. But there will be French drainage system put in. I'm sure, I know all of you are aware that when it rains like we had last week, the rain is getting into our elementary school because it's very low, but we are installing new drainage systems to carry that water off of the front walkway and away from that front door. Hopefully that will be completed though before the end of December. And the ponds at the elementary school, again, that's the same company doing the drains. So Ms. Burr is still waiting on the definitive date, and again, their answer to us is November, December. Is their targeted date for having both of those ponds cleaned out. And our scanning system, you know, it is best practice for every district, every operating business to have electronic filing systems. We began this a number of years ago. I think it was around 2007, 2008. We began transferring all records across the district onto an electronic filing system, DocuScan. We were successful in getting all of the district office in that process, the special education department in that process, and we began with students' perm files. We have not been able to get all of the students' permanent files. However, this year, we are. All guidance counseling offices at each school now have scanning systems. All staff have been trained, and all guidance counseling offices will be required to scan and keep every student's perm file and electronic filing system. And what that does is save the district with storage. It saves with, if one of our buildings were to be destroyed, Lord knows our schools damaged heavily and completely last year in the tornadoes that we had in Hampton, and also in a hurricane a couple of years ago, one high school was flattened. But were we to lose those records, we have them electronically backed up and saved. So just, that is now 100% underway. And that's all for my superintendent's report. I do have item number 7 on the agenda.
Before we move into item number 7, question on the retention pond. Is there anyone else in the business that does the cleaning of retention ponds besides the one that has us on calendar for November, December?
You want to tell them how many you tried to call?
We started.
1.5?
We started working on this when we did it originally, and this company works for the city of Bamberg, so they do some work for them as well.
Okay.
And they came the last time and did it, and we've issued the PO, so we're ready. We're just waiting on them to come.
Okay.
And I just emailed him again because I looked in my emails. He has not responded back. He told me he would get me a definite date, so I emailed him again to ask him for a definite date.
Okay.
I think right now it's just hard because people are not working or working remotely, or COVID is just killing us. I mean, in all honesty, because, you know, people don't want to come in your buildings. People don't want to do this. The shipping is backing up. Everything is slow. And so, but I will stay on him about getting it done.
Okay, so that means we don't have any other company that does this.
We do not have any. When we did this originally, we tried to find somebody,
Gotcha.
but it takes a special company to come in with the equipment to clean that pond. So no, we do not. Sorry.
All right, well, thank you very much, and I will turn that back over to you, Mrs. Brown, moving on to item number 7.
Okay. Item number 7 involves an overnight field trip request. This is requesting that our BE boys varsity basketball team be allowed to attend the Nation Ford High School Holiday Classic Tournament. And that is held in Charlotte. Actually, it's on this side of Charlotte, Fort Mill, South Carolina. They would not miss any instructional days. This is during our winter break. They would be gone for 2 nights. That would be Monday, December 21st, and they would return on Wednesday, December 23rd. I've listed all the particulars there. The coaches, item number 11, the chaperones. There are at least 5 adult coaches going to chaperone that varsity team. And we are, I'm seeking the board's approval for this overnight trip for the boys basketball to attend, play in this tournament.
Okay, I have a question. In looking at the form under item number 10, E, that has a check mark by the district, what will the district be financing? What, because it's checked. So I'm just curious, because I see under D, it says athletic funds, which that makes sense, but under E, it says district, and there's a check mark, and then local school has a check mark, so.
The only thing I can figure is he checked district because we'll be cutting the check because the money's coming to us. So any money he's raising comes to us. We run it through athletics and write the checks back out. So that's the only reason I could think he checked district. Not that we're financing it because we're not,
Yeah.
but the fact that the money's coming through us.
I know that, but I just wanted to make sure that.
Yeah, we're not financing it. We're not financing that.
No,
I
Sorry.
assumed we were not.
We are not.
financing
You're
it,
not.
No,
but
we're not.
To be clear for the record.
No, we're not.
Okay, and, let's see here. Does anyone else have any other questions with regards to this?
No, you've done that.
And attached to that, the second page is listing all of the students that would be attending. And again, the coaches, the additional students involved, the hotel where they'll be staying, how to contact that, and then, of course, Nation Ford High School schedule showing the Nation Ford tournament on those dates.
Okay, well, as long as it's all within the rules and regulations of the high school, I don't have a problem with it, but I would leave that up to the board. If you would like to act on this, I'll entertain a motion that we approve this.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to go ahead and give the rights to the Old Field trip basketball team 12-21-20 to 12-23-20 with all things in play.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion on the floor and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, I will entertain a vote. Those that are in favor of this, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Okay, hearing none, the ayes have it, and they are financing their trip. Motion passes. All right, item number 8 on the agenda, first reading.
Yes. This involves Title IX and sexual harassment policies. I don't know how much of this you may be aware of, but the sexual harassment laws and legislation changed back in August, in September. So in talking with the South Carolina School Boards Association, getting model policies from them, and then running them through our own district attorneys to make sure that they're kosher with all the new laws. Mr. Boykin has provided us with these new policies that we need to put into effect because of the federal and state laws that have changed on this subject matter. So I provided you with a copy of these, and I'm asking the board to please do a first reading on these policies. This is basically something we have to do to stay up to date with all the changing laws that involve Title IX.
All right, you all have had an opportunity to receive and review the information as well as hear from Mrs. Brown with regards to the first read of policy GBAAA, sexual discrimination and harassment. What's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we accept the first reading of policy GBAAA, sexual discrimination and harassment.
We have a motion on the floor that the policy for first reading be accepted. Is there a second? Second. We have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, and you're in agreement, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the ayes have it. That motion passes. We are down to item number 10, which is consolidation plan outline. And I would like to turn it over to Dr. Dean Whitworth.
I'm gonna take that off too.
Did I say number 9? Did I say 10? Devon, I'm trying to get you home.
I appreciate that.
Item number 9.
Well, thank you, everybody. Appreciate coming again. In front of you, you should have an updated version that there are some changes on that as of this morning after my conversation with Bamberg 2 Board, which they adopted this plan this morning also. I want to draw your attention to those, but first of all, I want to thank you for your patience in this process, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to work with the Consolidation Committee that has worked very hard to get us to this point. After tonight, the hope is that you'll pass that, both board chairs would sign this and ship it off to State Department of Education before they head out to Christmas break. So it gives them some time to get this done. I want to draw your attention a little bit to the areas that we did change from the last time you saw this and a conversation that we had a few weeks ago, is that we did consolidate the instructional component to make it easier to read, and I want to thank Mrs. Brown and her team, and Dr. Sojourner and her team to put this together, and Ricky and Devon helped compile this so it's easier to read. So when the State Department says, I want to look at the instruction component for elementary, the construction component for middle school and high school, we did change that. What it also did is took about 10 pages out of the process, which I think is much easier to read. But the changes that really have been made since you had it in your packet was on page 1. At the very top, it is changing the date today, so that will go forward if you go ahead and adopt this. And then starting on page, I believe, 17, if you want to turn to that. And let me get to it also for some clarification. I do want to draw your attention to bullet point 4, and this is a major change after our committee meeting. I think it was the same on your once you got your board packet. But the discussion happened this morning also about how the initial board will be done for the new consolidated school board. And after a lot of conversations and some help from Mr. Boykin, we were able to put this paragraph together that I believe makes a lot of sense. But you really have to read it, and I'll hit some areas for you. The initial board will be appointed by legislative delegation in accordance with legislation delegation creating the new consolidated school district. They have to say, once the plan goes into the state, the legislation has to take it and say, yep, we're going to let you do that. The money will flow once they start that process. The new board, at the discretion of the legislative delegation and considering the most recent census results, will be comprised of 7 or 9 members to the extent possible from existing boards. That makes a lot of sense because in context, 2 boards coming together and there's 10 members in those 2 boards, all right? If in fact there wants to be 10 people who want to move forward with the new board, there's going to be an odd person out, okay? But that's highly unlikely that there'll be 10 people who want to be that process. But the legislators would make that process looking at the 10 and saying, okay, who is going to be the odd person out? They can do it a lot of different ways. The person that's been in the longest, the person that's been the newest, however they do that. More than likely, it won't come to that. It will come to somewhere between 7 and 9 members, because you have to have an odd number. That means the legislature makes the decision. So if they're going to do 7, and there's only 7 of the 10 who want to do it, that will make their job easier. That's why we put that in there, to the extent possible from existing boards. Makes a lot of sense. Then it goes to the election cycle for new board members will start in 23-24. So for instance, if you're running this spring and you want to be at the new board, your cycle won't start until probably year 2 of the new board. All right? So the election cycle will keep going. And then it gives a really interesting discussion on a demographer will be used to ensure representation from communities of common interest. That is a legal term of saying, okay, the demographer is going to look at the whole district. Let's say they appoint 9 or 7 board members or 9. The demographer is going to say, so if there's going to be 7 board members, where do we have to look at where the population has shifted and where's the representation going to be from those areas?
Right.
It has addressed many of your concerns, especially on the Bamberg 2 side. That conversation helped them this morning. The current boards will continue to operate separately until the district consolidated board of trustees is appointed. All right. Now there's going to be some overlap a little bit, because if it's finally appointed during transition 2, there might be some conversations that have to be made. If all 7 board members are coming or all 9 are coming, it might be a little bit easier to do, because they're going to have to hire a superintendent for the new school district. There's going to have to be some procedures done. But that's going to be in transition year 2, okay? If you look at, and please ask any questions as we go, page 18 is that, this is one of the suggestions that came from the Bamberg 2 board this morning, and it's just highlighted. It talked about the interim superintendent, and we put / Bamberg County District. It could be the person who's going to be the person at the end, the superintendent at the end, it's interim, or going to be the hired person. But they kind of wanted to make that known, and it didn't make a whole lot of difference, but I thought it needed to be highlighted so you could see it. Then on page 20, and I want to thank Mrs. Spur for helping us out. The conversation was that we start adding up the numbers on one of these cells, and it didn't add up. So Devon and I had to go back and find out where these numbers came from. They actually came from the State Department of Education. Their numbers on the 135th day, I think, and they weren't added properly on cell 2019 and 20. So she got her information out. We went ahead and changed that. But if you look, again, we put the new BCSD is what the board will be, the new Bamberg County School District. That's what that means. Then we also wanted to designate where those numbers came from, because I could challenge those, you could challenge those. So where did they come from? It's from that report, numbers generated from the South Carolina Department of Education 135th day report, including 3K and 4K. So your numbers that are sitting there are included, your 3K and 4K. And please understand also, it's like many other states, you're not getting full funding for 3K and 4K. So your numbers, if you want to look at kindergarten through 12th grade, are a little bit lower than that. So if you see declining enrollment, I want you to look closely at those numbers, is that the enrollment has gone down since 2015-16, 11.78% in Bamberg 1, 7.8% in Bamberg 2, for a total county-wide of about 10.5%. We wanted to highlight those so that you saw them before you approve it. And I think that really was the major changes. Also, the Board of Education, if you remember, there was supposed to be a salary study done by the State Department of Education about a year ago is what we think. To this date, it hasn't been done, so both board chairs have contacted me on whether or not we could do that. As of today, I am moving forward with Mrs. Furr and Mrs. Tyler. Okay, to work on this, I have most of the information from Bamberg 1. Is that we're going to try to compile that over the next few weeks with Bamberg 2. I am starting with a executive summary and an introduction and narrative. And what we'll have is employment master lists, all those kind of things. And then Mrs. Furr and I will get together and try to put a graph, whether it's horizontal or vertical, that says Bamberg 1, salary for teachers across the board. Bamberg 2, salary for teachers across the board. And Devon worked with me today a little bit. Started it already. By the way, we don't let any grass grow under our feet. Okay? Do you?
No.
I like that, by the way. Is that eventually what we're going to do, and you can't see this very well, but it'll be probably bigger pieces of paper. Bamberg 1, Bamberg 2, these are teacher salary schedules based on your, across from year 1 to 20, I think it is. And then what we'll have on there for us to look at is, what are the dollars and cents difference? A minus means Bamberg 2 is lower than Bamberg 1, I think it is, or vice versa.
The minus means Bamberg 2 is higher than Bamberg 1.
Correct. So there are going to be some places where Bamberg 2 is higher and Bamberg 1 is higher. We'll have that probably to get it back to the committee. I think we should put the committee together to look at this, all right? But I think it's important that we have that because, not because of till the plan gets done, but during transition year 1 this spring and transition year 2, this conversation has to happen because what are the employees going to be paid starting in the new consolidated school district starting July 1, 2022? All right? That has to be done, and it needs to be done so that everybody has it and we know. Now also remember, once the plan is approved, there are dollars in the state money that comes to you to help pay for this. Our hope, and I can't tell you that for sure, is to try to keep those numbers very similar to the budget plan and possibly lower so that there'll be the ability to pay that through state dollars to equalize this. Because when it's all said and done, you want to have employee 5th grade teacher in Denmark and 5th grade teacher in Bamberg getting paid the same if they're on the same step. In concept, if one person was higher than the other, they might be frozen for a little bit while the other one's brought up. But when it's all said and done about year 2, 3, or 4, everybody's equalized. And that should be a goal to make sure it's done. So we are working extremely hard to get this information. And I think it's a good idea that we can do that because she knows the district pretty well. We'll know Bamberg pretty well too, pretty quick. As the shared services agreements get better, we'll be able to have that information. So I would just say to you tonight is that my recommendation is to move forward with approving this so we can get this to the state and let them do their work during December. Because I think the legislators are going to need it as soon after Christmas as possible because it's going to take them some time to get through this. Also, I think the whole goal was this plan is really about Bamberg County. It doesn't talk about Orangeburg. It doesn't talk about anybody else. It talks about you guys and Denmark. That plan is really for this county. They want the county to be able to like this plan and adopt this plan. And I said this morning, there's going to be speed bumps in this process, but what we don't want is big potholes.
Right.
If we can do this right and do this correctly, there'll be small speed bumps. All right? I applaud the fact that both of you started the shared services agreement with your cafeteria supervisor, with your technology person, and with the director of finance now, and that will move the process forward. I'm just kind of having a good time helping you. So, any questions for me?
Anyone have any questions for Dr. Whitmer?
Any questions?
Okay.
Any questions?
All right.
Well, with that being said, we're at a point of moving forward to adopt the plan that's been presented to us. So what's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we adopt the consolidation plan as outlined by Dr. Dean Report.
All right, we have a motion on the floor that we adopt the plan that's been presented to us. Is there a second? Second. We have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, and you are in agreement that we move forward with adopting the plan, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the ayes have it. Motion passes. We are now down to Devon, so we can get you home. Monthly financial report.
Do you need me anymore too?
No, sir.
Okay.
Proud to say, sir.
Thank you. We'll see you again, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
You have set a lot for tonight.
I'll let Dr. Whitworth
Do I-
see you. You go ahead.
Okay, I'll get out of your way.
Okay, take care.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye. See ya.
All right, you have your financial packets you have your financial information in your packets. I've answered some questions before we started tonight, so if anybody else has any questions, Right now, I'm just waiting on numbers from the state. At SCASBO, they told us, they're working hard to try to get us information, but right now, legislators have to go back and make decisions. And hopefully they'll make some decisions to give us a little money. Every grant we can write, we're writing for state money, for the CARES Act money. We're doing all we can do to get money in. I take advantage of everything the state offers as far as PPE. Anytime they'll offer something, we get it and the state pays for it. So that has helped tremendously on what we would have to spend on PPE because I have gotten a lot through the state, and that's been a blessing. But if y'all have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. If y'all have any questions and you don't want to ask here, you can email me or call me at the office. We'll be fine.
You answer my question.
You
Do
do?
we have any idea, and I know the answer is no, but I'm going to ask anyway, just for the sake of taking up your time and not allowing you to get home and have dinner. Did they give you any kind of idea of a time frame when they would have the numbers to you, or a guesstimate, or?
No, it's when they go back into session, they'll start working on it, and as soon as they get a preliminary number, they'll send it out to us.
Okay.
So it'll be like if the House Ways and Means gets something ready, they'll send that out as preliminary, and we can start budgeting based on those numbers.
Okay.
So you can start budgeting as soon as the preliminary numbers come out. So as soon as they go back into session, I think they're going to get on it quick because they know districts are sitting out here waiting to know where they stand financially.
Okay.
General session.
General session, yeah, when it all goes back. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, with that being said, I will entertain a motion that we accept the monthly report if you all would like to do that.
Madam Chairman, I move we accept the financial report as given.
All right, we have a motion on the floor that we accept the financial report as it's been presented. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, you're in agreement, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the ayes have it, motion passes. We are down to visitors' comments, and I would like to say, sir, what is your name? Mr. Wilson. Usually what the procedure is that you would come before the meeting starts at 6:30 and you would sign in under, on the list to be, to talk to us under visitors' comments. I'm not sure whether or not you are aware of that. That's the procedure that we have with regards to any questions that, or anyone that wants to make any comments. You did not come in enough time, but since you were here and we don't have any other persons that have signed the visitors' comments, I will allow you to ask the question that you wanted to ask. You're okay? All right, sir. Well, we appreciate that. And with that being said, we do have absolutely no one that has signed up for visitors' comments, but we do appreciate the two visitors that did come out, and that is the press, as well as I believe Ms. Mack is back there in the corner. We appreciate you all coming. And before we go into executive session, Ricky, can you have us, I'd like to look at those slides, the before and after, and then we'll move into executive session. We kind of just skipped over that, but I wanted to take a look at those slides.
This is a portable Miss Brown was speaking about, that we were getting removed. And that's the after.
Okay.
We do not have before and after, obviously, the asphalt, we will once we get that project done.
Okay.
And that's some of the grading work we're doing near where Mr. Brown is doing park right now, where she parks at.
Okay. That's right outside of your office.
Correct.
Or one of two.
By the baseball field, behind the high school.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you so much, and we are now down to item number 12, moving into executive session for discussion of student transfers, personnel recommendations for hire, personnel recommendations for resignation, as well as personnel updates. What's the pleasure of the board with regards to executive session?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to go into executive session to discuss students' transfers, personnel recommendation for hire, personnel recommendation for resignation, and personnel updates.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? All right, we have a motion Thank you, visitors, for coming. We have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, you're in agreement that we come out of executive session, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? All right, the ayes have it, and the motion carries, and we are now out of executive session. What is the pleasure of the board with regards to the items that have been discussed in executive session?
Madam Chairman, I move that we accept the recommendation for student transfers A1, 2, 3, and 4. We accept the recommendation for personnel hire for employee B1, and that we accept the resignation by employee C1.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, hearing none, if you're in agreement, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? All right, hearing no opposition, the ayes have it, the motion carries. And we are now down to item number 14, which is to adjourn this meeting.
I think all in favor.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Madam Chair, I move that meeting adjourned.
We have a motion on the floor that we adjourn this meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion on the floor and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, if you're in agreement that we adjourn the meeting, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, the ayes have it. The motion, the meeting is